Welcome everyone. We have today Nitin Kabra, who is the founder as well as one of the directors of the Pollard Steel. Pollard Steel, as many of you already know, is actually founded in 2005 and currently one of the leading and the biggest steel manufacturers in India. We have Nitin with us today to talk about his entrepreneurship journey, as well as the challenges and opportunities that a budding entrepreneur faces. Okay, so Nitin is actually an engineering graduate, and he is quite known recently for his contribution during the COVID days, where his team has supplied free oxygen to the multiple areas within Marathwada, Maharashtra, and India. I've taken the contribution aspect first in his introduction because that's what he's mainly known for. Now let's begin the first. I don't waste your time, and let's go to the understanding Nitin's journey and the thoughts that he has for us. So Nitin, just to go before I jump onto the topic, one question that I have is, can you just brief about your childhood and any experience in your childhood that actually was a force or something like ignition where you felt that you want to do something big in life or found a company or something very big when the thought was arrived in your life in any of your childhood experiences? Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Virendra, for inviting me and letting me share whatever I have experienced so far in entrepreneurship sphere. Coming back to your question, yes, I won't answer it the way you framed it, but definitely one of the most important component which I learned during my childhood, I would like to bring that forth because entrepreneurship skill required certain set of skills, right? And during the schooling or the college, you add on various skills in language, in mathematics, in science. Fortunately, I was fortunate enough. I got educated in Hindi school. In our time in 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, we have to select one elective subject. Okay, so
Yeah.
for that the uh, school itself used to conduct the exams and they used to give the grades. So board do not used to conduct those exams. So we used to have one subject called bookkeeping.
Okay.
Okay, what I felt our education system is missing is you during your school you've been taught languages, you've been taught history, you've been taught maths, you've been taught science, but no curriculum taught you about language of money. Okay, so to be an entrepreneur or to be in a business, you need to understand the language of money. And according to me, during my schooling days, that a language of accounts or the language of money through accounts was taught to me, and that was the founding stone for my journey towards entrepreneurship. So we
Okay.
used to have a course called bookkeeping where we used to be taught about how to post an entry, what is debit, what is credit, and all those things form the foundation stone for my business. So subsequently, when I got graduated and did my engineering, what I felt, most of the engineers, when they venture into a business or into a real life work, they are very good at engineering, they are very good at science, but they lack the knowledge of bookkeeping or the accounts or the language of money. And that was a differentiator factor that I got, fortunately, during my school time, which was a founding stone.
Oh, okay. So you're saying bookkeeping in a way actually triggered the vision, or you thought that
Yes.
bookkeeping experience, okay,
I'll
gave.
elaborate. I can understand because this is a very odd subject. Nobody talks about it
Yeah.
when education is being taught. So, see, seeing a company, the company which are there in the world, when you see them, like any Microsoft or Tata's or Birla's, whoever runs a company, when you see from outside, what
Yeah.
basically you have to see, what you should see, is been defined by the books which they publish. Books in the sense the annual their balance sheets. So when you look at those balance sheets, you should grasp the insights of the business, and that has been taught to us in our early school days, like 8th, 9th, 10th. So that triggered what happened afterward. When I went to engineering colleges, I used to read in the newspaper what is the balance sheet of a company. Sorry, I was muted. So when I entered engineering college, I used to go through various uh, newspapers which used to publish balance sheets of various companies, and that has acted as an catalyst in forming my mind towards entrepreneurship. So playing with the numbers and understanding the business from outside just by looking at a balance sheet is a skill in itself, and I will say that is a language of money which is must in today's date, which is to be incorporated during the early education in the school. So that is, I am fortunate enough I got that.
Yeah. Okay. So bookkeeping and balance sheet. I think those are
Right,
very
right.
valuable words because balance sheet also today we try to read the balance sheets, but I think you got it quite ahead of the game
Early.
or 15 years earlier than us. Okay. Now, if I go further, because I know you were a topper of the class in engineering also, and you were quite the guy who go to guy where people used to come to solve their problems. And okay, now the thing is, if I go to your entrepreneurship journey, okay, what does really entrepreneurship mean to you? Okay, so is it value addition? Is it for to become a big money to for a big contribution? What is your definition of it?
See, that definition definitely keeps changing with the age and the stages you crosses. The early stage or the early definition for me was definitely to make big money. Absolutely, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Subsequently, that lived for a very short time. The moment you cross one or two stages, then you realize that this is not the only game which you can create. And then
Hmm.
subsequently, creating jobs. For me, creating jobs for many is the real driving force or the real pleasure which my entrepreneurship skill, if it is there, then that is one aspect which gives a lot of energy to me, to create jobs and to
Okay.
see faces coming in your company, delivering to their best, doing their best, and going happily to back to their homes is what is the ultimate pleasure to me at this stage of the time. So
Oh,
entrepreneurship for me is creating jobs and giving a platform for others to express themselves.
okay. I think you gave quite a wonderful definition. Okay, that entrepreneurship for you is about creating jobs, and because we all come from a rural background, which is Marathwada area, so it's like we need some more entrepreneurs like you who can actually share that vision and come forward. But let me go to the next question. See, when did you realize that you wanted to be an entrepreneur in your life?
Uh, I don't know whether you are aware or not. In campus, I got selected for Bajaj Auto, and I started working in Bajaj Auto at Waluj plant. During my early days in Bajaj Auto, I worked there sometime around 8 or 9 months, something around 8 or 9 months. But during those 8 and 9 months, when I used to enter the shop floor, somehow because of this reading balance sheet kind of skill, I never used to think as an employee. I always used to look at those things as if I am owning that company or I'm owning that department, and then looking at the problem, finding out a solution was there. So during those 8 9 months when I was in Bajaj Auto, I started thinking why not to have my own company and start building a career in entrepreneurship or in a business. So after 8-9 months on one Deepavali vacation, when I came back to my hometown, a couple of my college mates or roommates, they met me, and we had a lot of chat, and then we decided to try our luck with entrepreneurship. So second best thing happened to me after bookkeeping in school. The second best thing was to jump early in entrepreneurship, or to jump early in
Mm.
business. Something which is what I see today with lot many people is that they try to uh, ensure that they earn little early in first 7-8 years in job, and then they try to venture out in business.
Mm.
See, for business, to do business, as I said, language of money as well as risk taking appetite is
Mm.
very, very essential. Okay, and the moment you step out of college, the early 2-3 years, you have that courage to take risk. Once you pass 7-8 years in any kind of job, then your mind mm, thinking pattern little changes.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
so after 8 or 9 months of job experience in a big organization, when my friends at my hometown, we conceived an idea to float an company, and that's how we started to building
Okay.
different projects.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a wonderful answer because you got to the game very early. I
Yes,
think at the right stage you hit the nail. Okay, because as we know, anybody who does it early or early commitment becomes big. They say
yes,
Tendulkar learned cricket at 5 and he became Tendulkar. Anand
right.
started playing at very young age chess and he became Anand. So earlier you make the choices, the success
Better it is.
becomes
Better
more,
is, yes,
and you have a
yes,
larger time to execute the ideas. Okay.
yes,
Uh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So the another part, Nitin, is very one that everybody wants to know. Okay, or even the young entrepreneur, because many people try something and fail. Okay, now was the Polar Steel where your first venture? Is it that you hit and all success came along, or did you had any failure
Oh,
in?
plenty of failures, plenty of failures. So, failures is part and parcel of this entrepreneurship game.
Yeah.
My first venture, fortunately, which is still running, my younger brother take care of it. It's an auto engine reconditioning workshop, very precision machine tool shop. Uh, the choice of first unit was definitely where I was having a skill. So we
Okay.
ventured into a machine shop, machining shop, and but uh, after 1 or 2 years, I started understanding the business a little more. Then I understood that to grow big time, I have to have a big organization with many people working
Hmm.
with a very mass market base. So I was toying with the idea. So fund as usual was not available to that extent. But then one fine day, one opportunity knocked.
Hmm.
Somebody was venturing into steel making, so he thought I can be his right choice as a partner. And then, since I was continuously thinking about some another
Hmm.
vertical to venture into, and
Hmm.
that opportunity came in. So, if you ask me about the successes, the first steel venture where
Yeah.
where we started with,
Yeah.
we had lot of losses in first year of operation.
Hmm.
To give you an imagination,
Yeah.
the complete project cost was, let's say, X, then the first year's operation losses were 4X.
Oh my. That's very
So
huge. Yeah.
that very, very huge. Again, the third time I was fortunate enough to have a partner who has a
Mm,
very huge courage to take risk head on.
mm.
Okay, so I
Oh,
learned something very unique skill from him. Though he is not anymore in business, he's in trading now. So we, after those losses, we started thinking of expansion, and
mm,
expanding our business in backward integration so that we can have little more value addition. And all those losses of 4X in first year was recovered in 2 months operations after our expansion came
oh,
into picture.
great.
So it was like a big deep and then a
Yeah.
sudden big high.
Oh.
So, and here then onward, steel is a cyclic.
Hmm.
Sorry, steel is a cyclic industry. So losses, failures are part of the game. I have seen many industry wiped out during this last 20 years of my steel experience.
Hmm.
Okay, so we do also had a lot of troubles even in when we started with Pollard. First 6 months we lost huge money, more than what we put in altogether.
Yeah.
But uh, sticking to the game, and see again here the first lesson of my bookkeeping came into my use. So we started looking at our cost sheets. We started looking
Yeah.
at how we can increase the revenue, what are the
Hmm.
fixed costs, what are the variable costs. So
Yeah.
all those nitty gritties of the accounts we started reviewing every day. Every evening we used to sit for 3-4 hours with my partners in Pollard. And after 6 months, again we started with a second boom. So
Oh.
failures are part of it, and
Hmm.
the early you test failure, I'll tell a real secret. Early you test failure, more stronger you will be.
Oh.
Because when you start a company or an organization and you start facing trouble, headwinds, then you really put your best to survive that,
Yeah.
and that becomes the DNA of your company.
Oh. That
if
becomes the
if you
character. Yeah.
Yes, if you test early success, then you build a lot of inefficiencies in your organization, and then it
Hmm.
is a real headache when uh, turbulent time comes in. So changing those habits of success time becomes a real troublesome game.
Okay.
So testing early failures definitely bring out best of you. So
Oh.
I will suggest everyone who's toying with the idea of venturing into any kind of industry or services or whatever of their own, don't worry about the failures. If your fundamentals are clear, if your accounts understanding is clear, you will definitely succeed if you stick to the game.
Okay. I think that's a quite comprehensive and insightful answer. Okay. Any youngster watching, he's saying that you need to have failures initially or upfront so that the inefficiencies can be ruled out. Even though Nitin, you have been very humble in saying my partner was courageous, but the thing was your role, and the other part is if you have to just list down three characteristics that person need to bounce back from a failure, or what those could be.
See, what I observe when people fail, I have seen quite a few people around me who were really good in
Yeah.
their work, but somehow
Yeah.
they got failed. So when I
Yeah.
analyze those people, what I have understood, first everyone does is don't accept the situation as it is. So
Hmm.
sometimes we venture into denial mode that no, everything is okay, it is going
Hmm.
to be okay, hota hai, let's stay. And the time you waste in consoling yourself that everything is okay is a real waste of time, which is make or break moment. Okay, so
Hmm.
the early you understand that you are in a trouble or you are in a soup, so
Hmm.
that early you start finding out another solutions. So this
Yeah.
is point one. Point two,
Yeah.
for every problem. And now I can
Hmm.
say that with authenticity, with my experience, that with every problem, you
Yeah.
have multiple choices of
Yeah.
solutions,
Yeah.
provided you think towards the problem as an opportunity to find out something new.
Yeah.
This is something which everyone need to learn to practice. Okay, learn by
Yeah.
practice. So
Yeah.
this won't come by any reading any book or anything, but every single day you come up with some problem. Instead of getting dragged or nervous or pulled on by it, you need to learn how to overcome it.
Yeah.
Small steps you come across, you learn, and that becomes your habit. So and whenever someone comes with a problem, you start looking at probable solutions instead of
Yeah.
getting yourself dragged. So this attitude you need to build over a time and with a lot of practice. So this is second most important characteristics one must inculcate in oneself to face those headwinds. Okay, And third is definitely the most important is always have a big contact list.
Okay.
Any business can't succeed without adding people. So given a choice, many times given a choice, when even in front of me, when I have to choose between immediate profit or a relationship to last, I always choose a relationship to last, even at
Mm.
a small expense of my today's profit. Because in turbulent time, those peoples whom you have
Mm.
dealt with as a human, they are the
Yeah,
real source of your inspiration or the courage or the support in your turbulent times. So these three things I think are the
yeah,
most,
I agree.
according to me, are the most important characteristics one should have.
Yeah, yeah, I think that that's a very insightful answer for a youngster. First thing you said is denial. I can see many youngsters still remain in a mode of denial. Second said you said about opportunity. Every problem is an opportunity. And third thing you said, people are more valued than anything else. Okay. So people are your greatest resource. Okay. Then the other part is if I go to the next question, because we have spoken about your first failure, we have seen that your Polad was not your first venture. You did fail. The profit was around 4x. Okay. Then
Loss was
the
around forex.
yeah, and the one thing is the first plant and the first customer. Okay, we see heard many stories just like Make My Trip. The people say that when my first customer booked using Make My Trip, I actually went to the bus stop to board him to see him buy. Okay, that was their experience. Okay, and the other person is Naukri.com, or the other people say when the first person got job, we actually went to his office to wish him luck. So that was the like first experience of the first customer. So you had the first steel plant built, and then you had a first customer who purchased. So any experience about how to do find a customer, or what was your first customer in the initial days when you're starting selling the steel?
Fortunately, I'm again fortunate on this side
Yeah,
because I belong to a city called Jalna, which is a good cluster for steel. Before even I started in my career in steel, their ecosystem was built in the Jalna
yeah,
to deal in steel. So finding a customer in early days was not a big task for me, to be
yeah,
very honest with you, because the city had a complete ecosystem of traders, brokers, transporters, raw material suppliers. So buying and selling was the least area of concern in the initial days.
yeah.
So the challenges were to produce in the cost of your least cost producers, competitors.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so challenge was inside the factory rather than the outside. And
Mm.
India, again, we are fortunate. You and me are the fortunate generation to see India growing leap and bound in last two
Mm.
decades. After the liberation of 91, things are moving in much higher speed compared
Yeah.
to the generation earlier to us. So demand was never a concern,
Yeah.
and finding a customer was even not a concern. I just realized when you asked this question, I, to be very honest, I don't remember the name of my first customer also. But
Yeah. Oh, okay.
that was because
Yeah.
the ecosystem was there.
Ecosystem was
So
built already there.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Okay. Fine. See, I think, see, Nitin, once we go to the customer, the people, or the plant building, see, everybody these days, before even a small startup of 5,000 or 10,000, people talk about go to market strategy. Okay. How do you, some people talk about speed to market. Some people say about customer segmentation, So there are some people even say my customer banking people say our customer segments are students, and then couples, and car people say my customer segment is above income above 50 lakh and all that. So any thought about the market strategy or your customer segmentation, or yeah,
Uh, there's no definite answer to this because this is a wide, big subject to
yeah,
place your company in a competitive market
yeah,
in a very very fierce competition is going on every day in out. So all strategies has to put to test. Okay,
Yeah.
you have to find out this which segment of the market you need to serve, which adds value to your organization as well.
Mm.
One thing I will definitely say over here, because the subject you asked, the question you asked has a very big answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe I can't express that in few words, but I have
Yeah.
one suggestion to every upcoming entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So according to me, there are certain types of entrepreneurs. One is who do not want to take risk or venture out into marketing of their own product with under their own brand. So they are
Yeah.
happy making products for some big organization as an OEM, supplier or vendor. uh, that strategy is also good, but I will suggest with the kind of population we have, the kind of appetite our uh, upcoming generation have for services and goods, you should try to build your own product under your own brand name and try to reach to the customers directly. I With this sentence, I can understand that not all industry can go and reach to market by their own because
Yeah.
of various reasons. There are many industries who make components which has been sold to one auto company, which makes it one complete car or two wheeler or whatever, and then they
Mm.
go to the market and sell. So me suggesting all the auto component maker to go directly to the market may not suit to those kind of industries. But when if you have an opportunity to go directly to the market and have your own customer base, first choice should be that,
Okay.
instead of supplying to someone else who's
Yeah.
trying to build their own product or
Yeah.
their own brand. So
Yeah.
this is one piece of advice or
Yeah.
experience I would like everyone to
Yeah.
follow too.
So it's like customer first. There shouldn't be a middleman between you and customer. You should directly reach out to your customer and get the direct feedback. So,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and the customer should be as large base as possible, because your
Okay.
brand cannot be built by supplying to two or three or five industries. Your
Yeah.
brand can be built if you supply to, let's say, some thousands or lakhs of customers.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. See, another part is because see, you I seen your organization is very big. You're giving employment to more than 3,000 people, and there must be a number of lessons that you could share about leadership, networking, and sometimes when I speak to you, or even multiple people speak to you, okay, you come across as a very humble human being. Sometimes that power, arrogance, or the power or the worth that you have in terms of financial, okay, that we can't see in you. You come across as a very normal, humble human being. So one of the thing that I want to ask you is, one is the leadership lessons, and second thing is, how can you keep yourself so cool to the ground, even though you have so much of power and the wealth that has come across the way in 15 years, right?
First, I would like to answer the second one. I don't think I have that kind of resources to be that arrogant. And okay, that is in my DNA also.
Yeah.
I haven't seen people around me to be
Yeah.
that arrogant. So I don't know
Okay.
the right answer to that. But I don't see
Okay.
that I have that position to be that
Yeah.
arrogant. Okay. Now
Okay.
coming back to your question on the leadership, I think it's a very simple technique which I follow. I
Yeah.
try to I try to do every day a new thing. If I am doing
Yeah.
certain things over a course of time, then I
Mm.
see that somebody else start doing it, and I take
Mm.
another challenge. So getting a new challenge every day is my simple technique. So
Okay.
when I try to take on new challenges every day, first
Yeah.
thing I have to do is
Yeah.
hand over my existing responsibility to someone else
Yeah.
and to see that he delivers. Because if you learn
Okay.
something which is
Yeah.
adding value to your company, and tomorrow
Yeah.
if I want to hand it over to someone else, I
Yeah.
cannot jeopardize my company's future by risking handing over my job to someone else. Okay,
Yeah.
so you start building your team of people, trusted people whom you can hand over your responsibilities, and then you take on another challenge. So sometimes what I see, people around me, they stick to their own arena for a very long time. They do not trust people. They do not share their responsibility. They do not find new challenges for themselves by handing over their day-to-day responsibility to someone uh, who are capable enough to handle it. And that is the biggest I will say foundation stone for the failure. Okay, so giving yourself a new challenge every day is the simplest thing you
Okay.
should toy with.
Okay.
So that will take out of you a skill to train people to
Yeah.
take your responsibility.
I think that is one of the greatest leadership lessons. Also, it remains that leadership is about growing your own people. So the moment you offload your task to him, you're
They
ensuring the
automatically
same
grows.
level growth in the
Yes,
other people.
yes, yes.
So I think that that's quite useful for the youngster, because people sometimes do not want to delegate the core task to the
Yes.
subordinate, and they keep it over to them all the time. And okay, so if I go to the next point, okay, see, steel is all about operations. Okay, manufacturing is all about operations. The manufacturing now, the smart manufacturing is coming. Okay, how do you dealt with these operational challenges? Because you seem to have been doubling your size every 5 years or 7 years, right? So you're also on the verge to double your capacity in next few years, right? So how are you dealing with operational sizing, great demand, yeah, or any operational lessons for that matter, yeah?
See, as I said, the most important factor is to have people around you who are capable enough to deliver their job, and you keep giving them opportunity to grow. So
Mm.
when you expand, you not only physically expand in terms of assets of or the number of factories or the number of machines, you expand with number of peoples also. You
Mm.
expand technologically also.
Mm.
So we keep all these three streams running parallelly. So
Mm.
we build new factories. We have all that material transformation happening around our campuses, and simultaneously we keep growing our batch of engineers, batch of workers, technicians. We continuously engage in training them, even if we don't have anything on the drawing board for expansion. So it's not that कि कुछ expansion सोचा है, that then you start training them. The
Mm.
training is consistent, regular exercise, um, so that when we think of expanding, we should not
Mm.
go out and look for the people. They are already there inside your team. So, and third is definitely technology plays a vital role. We are in a disruptive innovation cycle.
Yep.
Everything you do get disrupted within the next 4 5 years.
Yep.
So again, people plays a vital role here. All my vendors, all my suppliers, all my technology partners, we keep on interacting with them every now and then, irrespective of whether they have anything to do with me for next couple of years. But we keep meeting them. We allow a lot of visitors inside our factory, even my competitors,
Okay.
because when they come in, we see all our partners do see to interact with all the visitors
Yeah.
who are here to visit, to see how steel has been made, or they are planning to venture out into steel making. We spend a lot of our time interacting with them. That
Okay.
gives us new vision, what other people are thinking, what technology they
Mm.
are going to evaluate, who are the technology support suppliers they are
Mm.
looking for. And that creates a whole ecosystem where we develop our own source of information on the technological front. So these
Yeah.
three things keep on happening regularly, very regularly. Exact expansion may happen once in a 2 year or 3 year, but
Yeah.
this duration of 2 3 years, we are continuously doing all these exercises.
Okay.
So
So
again, people interaction is most important
yeah,
to grow your inside people as well as your outside people.
outside. Okay. So in nutshell, you're trying to say first is your transparent environment. Second is
Yes.
upskilling. Okay.
Yes.
And third is your interaction outside, inside
Very,
is
very
really
important.
kind of,
I will take this third point as first,
yeah.
because
Okay.
interaction with people is most important. That gives you
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when you meet
So
various
your
kinds of
vision
people,
starts
it
with
gives you
interaction inside, outside, then you're
right,
upskilling, and
right,
then the cycle goes on.
right.
Okay. Yeah. So if see, the thing is, there are a couple of things here. Okay. One is a modern internet era, and the other
Mhm.
part is the steel factories, is still a core manufacturing area. Okay. So are you looking to put some smart manufacturing, borrow some technologies from the internet area, or
We are fortunately pioneer in our segment to
hmm,
incorporate various technologies, be
hmm,
it ERP system. We have our own ERP system built with our technology supplier. Uh, to the extent that we even involved in the UI, in the technology selection, in the database management, everything. So so not only that. We also have a complete ecosystem to support. See, when you have a lot of engineers, you can accommodate newer technology, right? So we have a
hmm,
complete system.
hmm.
The second biggest challenge which we took couple of years back is to have industry 4.0 at our own factory,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
we have already implemented right from my melting stage till my bundling of rebars.
Oh, great,
So
great.
so every stage has been captured on a cloud, and when bundle is finished goods bundle is been made, we apply a tag on it with the barcode. If my
Yeah,
customer scan that barcode, he can get each and every information about that particular bundle, what happens during manufacturing, which furnace it came out of, what time it came out of, what is the chemistry, what is every damn silly thing is been captured. So
yeah.
that kind of integration of industry 4.0 is not a small challenge in this kind of environment where a lot of dust, humidity, and heat is there. But we implemented that also in last 2 years. So you don't have any challenge in this disruptive time. You need to walk with the technology. What I see, when people earn something, they think that that profit is completely their own. I have a different opinion over here. When you earn 100 rupee as a profit, net profit,
Yeah.
you should take out at least 10, 20, depending on which kind of industry you are, to experiment. And when I said experiment, they're bound to be a failure. So
Yeah.
you take out certain amount of money to experiment with the upcoming technologies, and we do it since 2005 onward.
Oh,
And we
great.
invested a lot many things. So if 100 experiments we might have done, 10 succeeded, 90 failed. But those
Yeah.
10 which succeeded, they took care of all the losses of those 90 which failed. So you need to
Amazing.
keep experimenting with the technology. So I don't see any obstacle or hurdle in adopting newer technology, even old
I
kind of
actually,
industry also.
I think two things here will impress anybody, or I think we should clap for the Industry 4.0 being in the area of Jalna. Okay. If Industry 4.0 is being successfully implemented,
Yes.
I think one should, or everybody who is watching this will clap for you, that because that is like ahead of the curve, and I'm really happy to hear that, because I belong to the same area. And the other part is the very vital point you said about experimenting. There are people who are just not putting a single penny in experimenting.
Yes.
You're saying put 10 to 20%, and out of you even admitting that my 90% has been failed, but my
Yes.
10% has recovered the other points. I think the two crucial thing that any youngster or the readers of Knowledge Review magazine are going to these are the two crucial points. I think he has earlier mentioned very vital points, but if you look at these two, that the company from rural area is actually ahead in the technology game with Industry 4.0. I think that's very commendable. Let's go to the next part, okay? Because we are a part of a rural Marathwada, okay? Sometimes people say there is a hurdle in developing the professional culture and values, right? So how do you ensure the values and culture in the company?
There is a very big
Yeah.
notion with this professionalism.
Yeah.
I won't say my company is professional in a sense that MNC means, but it
Yeah.
is really professional in a sense when I assign someone some job, it's
Hmm.
get done, and that matters to me.
Yeah.
Uh, we have our own way of communicating. We don't
Yeah.
have those typical email kind of
Hmm.
structure,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
anything which adds or which slows down your communication, we don't prefer that.
Hmm.
So if I have any issue with the next department, the culture we built is get out of your chair, go to his cabin, tell him,
Hmm.
boss, this is a problem, we need to break our head and get it
Yeah.
solved. So professionalism, I will say, creating an organization where everyone puts their 100% is what we mean by professionalism. And
Yeah.
I don't think any locational disadvantage will come with your company if you be in a rural or a urban area, wherever you are. If you have that
I,
attitude in your team to solve the problem head on, I think professionalism is taken care of.
yeah, definitely. Because no, the kind of success that your company has, it shows that you have the right people as well as you have built the right culture. Because how many books, the corporate books you read, or how many management books you read, at the end of the day, people will say you need to get a solution to the problem, and you need to get the result in a
You
minimum time.
cannot win the match by sitting in the spectators gallery
Yes.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
analyze the game. You have to be on the
Exactly.
court and play your own shots. So
Exactly.
no
Yeah.
doubt, reading those books gives you different thought process.
Yeah.
They definitely help. You should inculcate that habit, but the core thing is that you have to face the problem, and
Yeah.
you have to have an aptitude to see that
Yeah.
as an opportunity.
Oh yeah, wow. Thanks, Nitin. But I liked your first answer because where you said go to the person and get it solved. Because when you work in
That's the only
MNC,
way.
you don't write emails and wait for the answer for next 2 days. So
I
yeah,
initially couple of my engineers started doing that,
yeah,
sending report kind of
yeah,
things. So I said, boss, this is not going to work in my organization.
yeah,
If you see
yeah,
this is something which is causing a loss to the company, your seat should uh, make you lift your ass up and go to the other's cabin.
yeah. Correct,
Don't
correct.
don't try to prove me that you found out, you conveyed. I said nothing doing. Go get it solved. And fortunately, that is working. Fortunately, that is working.
Yeah, fine. I think we have covered almost most of the areas. We have started with your entrepreneurship journey, your failures, lessons from the failures. Then we spoke about your customer segmentation. We even spoke on values and culture, operational challenges. I think one of the things that you have all your answers is in a way message to an youngster who wanted to start with a new entrepreneurship venture. But still, if you have to put three, four core messages to the youngsters or reader or the university students, because this magazine gets circulated across 700 universities, and if those students need to have three, four core messages from you, what those could be?
First is uh, get yourself in a habit of working with people, because
Okay.
if you want to work in isolation, if you love to work in isolation, then you are not a right guy to build a organization.
Okay.
So I see a lot of people have problem with others' style of working. So you have to melt down that habit of yours. So start working with people,
Yeah.
start loving people, and
Yeah.
then that is a core foundation uh, stone which will inculcate an entrepreneurship in yourself.
Yeah.
Second is language of money. You need to understand language of money, without which you can't succeed. Whatever
Mm.
technology you have, you may be having a patented product, you may be having a massive market, but if you don't understand language of money, then that success could not last longer. So language of money at an early stage is preferable. Even if you have got graduated and haven't
Yeah.
understood how the accounting is done, how to read a balance sheet, then go get it as early as possible. So that is point two. Point three, have a attitude of facing the problem head on.
Hmm.
So I think those three. In earlier answer also, if you see, these are the three
Yeah,
things
yeah,
which came in
yeah.
various ways. So these are the three basic things you need to
Yeah, I
look on.
think you hit the nail on its head. First is be the people person.
Yes,
Yeah, language of money is very crucial thing because
crucial.
people are setting up their startup with no money, or some people start up with a huge money with no customers. And the third thing that you said is take the problem head on, or the ability to solve the problems. Okay.
Yes, yes.
See, because we have so much of subjective stuff. Okay, I'll just put three, four objective questions to you. Okay.
Hmm.
I think the if some these days there is a craze of starting a startup in third year of engineering. You see many colleges students are starting startup at third year, or even after there's a startup culture they're calling it. So starting a business at the age of 22, you think right? Yes or no?
Very good opportunity these guys are getting. So I must say that uh, this culture need to be propagated a lot.
Okay,
Only thing I
okay.
will say, before you start at 22 in a venture which is really good, you need to understand language of money. That is the only
You did not.
precondition I have.
Yeah.
That is the
Okay.
only
Language of
precondition I will have. Yes.
okay. See, another part is, do you think that raising a capital, because 20 years back when we graduated 19, um, by the beginning of 2000,
Yes,
raising a
yes.
capital was
Big
tough,
challenge.
right?
Yes.
Do you think that in the internet era, raising a capital has become a lot more easier?
Yes, definitely. Compared to the eras when we started into business, this is a quite open society for funding new ideas. Those
Yeah.
days, if you go to a banker, they want a sure shot idea, a
Yeah.
success formula. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
today, no venture capitalist asks you for success assurance. They look
Yeah.
into your values, in your product, in your approach, and they bet on it. Okay,
Yeah.
so definitely this is a good culture which need to be propagated. Definitely,
Okay.
this is the right
The
time to.
third part is, do you think, because see, there are multiple colleges or universities I don't name. Okay, few of the universities like having 600 computer IT students compared to 20 mechanical engineers and 30 chemical engineers. Okay, now do you think in a way, because most of the universities have this private universities, because what they have done is increase their IT and computer students and less. Do you think in a way are they killing any core talent?
See, they are the private universities or the colleges. They are like an company. They are operating like a company, which is fair. So they are responding to the market need. We should understand that first. So what is the market need today? India has been expanding into services sector like hell. So when you expand in services
Yeah,
sector, you definitely need more IT guys. So they are responding by creating more seats in IT
yeah,
sector. Now answering your
yeah,
second question, so I don't see any problem if you have more IT guys in the field. So they
yeah.
are basically responding to the
Demand.
market need.
Yeah,
Yes, definitely you should have courage to scale it down also when the time comes. So most of the time they think it's going to be perpetual system. It's not going to be perpetual
yeah,
system. Now coming to your second question, which is really bothering to me too, I'll
yeah,
say my both of my son, they are now
yeah,
into IITs.
yeah,
So as the peer pressure was there, they were also looking for computer sciences, which they are
yeah.
capable of getting in various institutes. But then I insisted them to go into core field.
Hmm.
So one is in metallurgy, one is in mechanical, so that computer, whatever amount of computer knowledge you need to lead an organization, you can get that in a crash course kind of thing. You do not have to build your career solely on CS or computer science. So I also have some worry or some apprehensions of quality of core engineering subjects getting deteriorated. I do share your concerns similarly here.
Okay, thanks, Nitin. I think we had a little trouble with the internet. The question we were on is killing the talent, and you were saying that it also worries you. Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, go on. Yeah, so do you want to add a couple of sentences to that?
I don't know whether that has been captured or not, but during that
So because
interruption,
you
I
said
just
your
I,
sons, okay, yeah,
I just wanted to add one line that
yeah,
I do share your concern of losing strength of core engineering practices in our engineering colleges,
yeah,
and I am little worried also
yeah,
for loss of those core engineering branches to CS. And
okay,
I'm sure that in coming days, institutes will come up with some kind of sandwich kind of courses where core as well as computer introductory courses will get merged, and you preserve your core competence.
okay, okay. And just to add on to our viewers, apart from being a successful entrepreneur, Nitin is a successful father with two sons in IITs. One of his son is in IIT Bombay. So that is a lot to look forward. And that comes to last objective question. Do you think that startups have a level playing field because IT startups are being picked up more compared to the core? So do you think there is a level playing field for everybody?
It is always there. It is always there in
Really?
all eras, not only this era. See what we see or read in the newspaper or in the media is about the successful entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
So in every era, we had a lot of unsuccessful entrepreneurship also.
yeah,
So the ratio remains the same. So level playing field is always there, was always there, is there,
yeah.
and will always be there. So I don't
Oh,
see much problem over there. And now with the kind of governments you have in every state, in the center, every single political party, they understood that it is now their duty to create a level playing field. So and they are on the job.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think government or governance has a role to play. Anyway,
Yes.
I think Nitin, this has been quite informative and insightful. We have almost covered all the questions that could be troubling a young entrepreneur's mind, and I am definitely sure that this will be a very insightful and advisory session for them. This will get uploaded to the Knowledge Review website in the due course of time, and I'll update you and everybody. But thank you very much for spending time with us out of your busy schedule, and thank you very much for answering all our questions. And um, here I end our session.
Thank you, Virendra. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my journey with you guys all. And I will be very happy and delighted to see many people coming up in entrepreneurship and creating jobs for many. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll close this broadcast here.
Thank you.